Okay, this is it. The last day of the regular season, and the Mets are staring something really embarrassing in the face.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast Instagram. But the best way to get a hold of me is right here in the comments section of the YouTube page. And if you're going to leave any comments on any of those social media platforms, make sure to use that hashtag Everyday Sully. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Go to 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Let's do the trivia question right now. The trivia question I had was, who are the only Chicago White Sox players to win postseason MVPs? The official postseason MVPs began in the mid-1950s with the World Series MVP, later the ALCS MVP. And the White Sox didn't win any postseason series for a very long time. Joshua Nickel, 7643, guessed Jermaine Dye and AJ Pierzynski. Points for getting Pierzynski's name spelled correctly. No points for putting him on there. He did not win a postseason MVP. He would have if they gave out Division Series MVPs, which I do not understand why they don't. But Big John 08865, who is an everyday Sully listener, got it right. Jermaine Dye, 2005 World Series. Paul Konerko, 2005 ALCS MVP. Now, I will say, I don't agree with the Paul Konerko. I think the ALCS MVP was Joe Crede. Joe Crede should have won it. But you know what? I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. And later on the show, I'm going to show you how I'm not going to lose much sleep over what is a very, very intriguing MVP race that's going to come down right to the wire. And for some reason, some people think it's over. And I don't quite understand that. Games were played on the 27th day of September, the penultimate day of the season. So let's go over some who own baseball. Cam Schlittler, gotta be careful to pronounce his name correctly. He threw 7 scoreless frames, allowed 2 hits, struck out 9 Orioles. The Orioles just didn't show up in New York this weekend. They took a 1 lead on Friday, and after that, they just said, heck with it. We're going to watch wire reruns. And the Yankees won 6-1, and they could still win the division. They need a little help. Michael Busch, this is interesting. He homered twice, doubled, and tripled. He came up in the 8th inning with a chance to get the cycle, and he was intentionally walked because there was a run on third and a base open. Now, Ollie Marmol is getting some crap for that. Ollie Marmol's job as the manager of the Cardinals is not to have Michael Busch hit for the cycle against him. His job as the manager of the Cardinals is to try to win that game. And so that was a smart move to put him on, even though it got a lot of people angry. But hey, Michael Busch missing the cycle by single, getting on base 5 times, hitting 2 homers. That's enough to own baseball. Christian Walker homered twice in the Astros victory over the Angels. We'll get to the fact that the Astros haters, your wish came true. And Clay Holmes kept the Mets' faint playoff hopes alive by throwing 6 innings of 1 hit ball. We'll get to that. Half lobs go to Colt Montgomery, who went 3 for 4 with a home run, but the White Sox got edged by the National 65. The White Sox National Series was pretty entertaining so far. Those games mean nothing, but they're at least been fun games. Kyle Freeland pitched 6 strong innings, allowing 3 runs, but Colorado lost 4-3 to the Giants, and Hunter Goodman in that same game got on base 3 times for the Rocks. And Jacob Latz threw 5 1/3 innings, allowing 2 runs and walking none. But Cleveland beat Texas in a strange game. We'll get to that in just a second. Just want to finish segment 1 here saying The New York Mets won. They got the great performance of Clay Holmes, but the Reds clobbered. Well, I mean, they had the big 6-run inning with 6 unearned runs, including a few off of Mizorowski, who they're trying to bring out of the bullpen. I like that they're trying to find a new role for him. But the Reds won again, which means the Reds are in control of their destiny. If Cincinnati wins tomorrow, it doesn't matter if the Mets have 9 guys hitting for the cycle tomorrow in a perfect game. If the Reds win tomorrow, that's it. And they'll be in the postseason. And let's just bring up something. This will be one of the most embarrassing regular seasons in the history of baseball. I have no compunction saying that. None. Cincinnati Reds have a payroll of $115 million. Okay. The New York Mets have actually more than $200 million on them. And all the Reds have to do is win. All the talk about, big payroll does this, big payroll does that. Let's look at the top 10 in payroll, shall we? The Mets, LA Dodgers, New York Yankees, Philadelphia Phillies, Toronto Blue Jays, Texas Rangers, Houston Astros, Atlanta Braves, Padres, and the Cubbies. All but the Cubs have a $200 million payroll, but that's your top 10 there. Now, if Cincinnati wins or the Mets lose tomorrow, one of those two things, not both, just one of them happen, the Mets, who are the number 1 in payroll, will be playing golf when the playoffs begin. The number 6 in payroll are the Texas Rangers. They're already out. The number 7 in payroll, the Houston Astros. They're already out. The number 8 in payroll are the Atlanta Braves. They're already out. So we have right now, if one of those two things happen, 40% of the top payrolls will be not participating in the postseason. And by the way, 2 of them are playing each other, the Padres and the Cubs. So by the time we get to the division series, if that one thing, and by the way, if the Mets do happen to make it to the postseason, they would play the Dodgers. And so one of them will be eliminated. And then one of either the Padres or the Cubs will be eliminated. So by the time we get to the division series, the Yankees, let's assume the Yankees get to the division series. The Yankees, Phillies, Jays, and half of we're almost guaranteed that half of the top 10 in payroll are not going to make the division series. So I'm not saying payroll doesn't help, but it certainly doesn't guarantee anything. And the people saying it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. Look at what's about to happen. There's a much larger than 0 chance of that happening. But the Mets, this is inexcusable. It's inexcusable that they're calling up minor leaguers down the stretch to try to save the season. I didn't pick the Mets to make the postseason because I didn't believe in their pitching. But until June 12th, the Mets looked dynamic. They looked fantastic. They looked like they were going to prove everyone wrong. But they've been playing about 410 ball since then for roughly 100 games. They've been only winning about 40% of their games. That's not a small sample size. And if you go into a season with the highest payroll in the history of baseball in an expanded postseason, and you're one of the 2 teams that everyone bitches and moans about, oh, it's not fair that the Mets and the Dodgers have payrolls over $300 million and outspend everyone. Okay, but it's not that you outspend them. It's what you outspend them with. And I have no compunction saying that a Mets team that has the highest payroll in the history of baseball has to wait to hear what happened in Cincinnati. They don't even have control of their own destiny for the 3rd wild card position. Someone has to be fired. Someone has to be fired. And do you know what? It might be Stearns. Stearns put this team together. He put this team together with a blank check. And look what we're looking at here. Mendoza's gone. I mean, I don't see a scenario where he comes back. But you may have to look at the person. People criticize Cashman. I've been one of them. And I still think their roster construction isn't fantastic. And I still think they could be vulnerable in a short series in the postseason. But at least they're going to make the postseason. The Yankees have to, the Yankees need to win, and the Blue Jays have to lose for them to get the win the division. But the Yankees, if that doesn't happen, they'll still be a wild card team and be in really, really good shape. But the Mets, there are years where they've been great and they fell down they fell down the stretch. Obviously, 2007 comes to mind. Then there was years where they had a winning record, and then right at the end, like it in 2021, where they fell apart in the final month. This is worse. This is the team that was supposed to be the big bad Mets. And the fact that they have minor league people that they're calling up, and Montas is supposed to do something. This is a calamity. And if they make the postseason, it will solve some of those wounds. But if this doesn't, how am I wrong in saying this is one of the greatest greatest regular season disasters in the history of baseball? How am I wrong? Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-hour energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with zero sugar and zero crashes. Here's what I love most. They're portable. You got the big taste. You got a tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get that boost anywhere you need it. Now, let me tell you something. I love how fast it kicks in, and it's sugar-free. So I don't have to worry about crashing later. They got so many great flavors there and so many. Oh, I love the lime. I love anything lime. I love everything mint. I love everything lime. And that's what you can get right here. So enough of the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-hour energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or be bold and try something new in-store and online at www.5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. This episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Zippix Toothpicks. There they are. Whether you're looking for a nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool when you work reducing your dependence on vaping, and it's available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligrams and 3 milligrams nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. Here's this ones that I got. This one got the peppermint flavored one. I love my peppermint. Guy right in there. And in the past, I've used caffeine. I've used soda. I've used sugary things. And you know what? That gets you jittery, gets you crashing. And these give me the energy without the jitters. This is the peppermint one, and I love it. So what you need to do is go to zippixtoothpicks.com and use code LOCKEDON for 10% off your first order. You must be 21 or older. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's Zippix Toothpicks. There they are again. Zippix Toothpicks. Whoa! Promo code Locked On. Zip more. Smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks. Zippix. So the weirdest game today was in Cleveland. Earlier in the day, the Red Sox lost a 2-1 game to the Detroit Tigers, making the Tigers clinch one of the playoff spots. They're either going to be the AL Central champion or they are going to be one of the wild card teams. I think Cora is going to put most of their starting players on ice right now, certainly their key pitchers. I don't see any reason to use any of them tomorrow, anyone that they really expect to be playing in the division series. I think they've probably encased Garrett Crochet in carbonite and will go to Jabba's Palace and thaw him before the postseason, because that's really the main thing that has, some hopefulness for Boston fans, is knowing Crochet is going to be pitching game 1. And if that happens and they win that, then split the next 2 games and you move on to the division series. I wouldn't surprise me if Cora took a knee tomorrow and would rather not face the Yankees in a short series, but who knows? I mean, you played a win game, so that's all there is to it. but the Tigers got in. So, even if they failed to win the division, and that once was 15 and a half game lead, was a 9.5 game lead on the 10th of September. Just 17 days ago, they had a 9.5 game lead. And now all that has to happen is the Red Sox, either the Red Sox beat them tomorrow or Cleveland wins, then they will be a wild card team and not the division champ, which is absolutely surreal. But the craziest game took place in Cleveland. It was a wild game, and the Stephen Vogt, just the manager of Cleveland, just was pushing the right buttons. He put in Jonathan Rodriguez, who was just called up because of an injury to David Fry, put him into the cleanup spot, and he wound up hitting a 2-run home run that gave Cleveland the lead for a big chunk of the game. It wound up being a tie game going into the ninth, and the Cleveland got a pair of runners on, and Bruce Bochy, my dad's favorite manager, put an intentional walk on, so the bases were low. Bases were loaded with 2 outs. A run comes in, Cleveland gets the postseason berth. Robert Garcia on the mound for Texas. And I remember thinking, that's a little risky that you're going to put you're going to make it so he has to throw strikes. But I thought, well, 2 outs, and it's CJ Kayfus, who's not exactly going to be on the short list for the MVP vote this year. And so we thought, I'm going to take my chances with CJ Kayfus. And Robert Garcia, with 2 outs, threw a ball and it hit him. And Garcia threw his hat off and looked so angry at himself. And good for him for having that much passion about a game where the Rangers are out of it. But at that moment, Kayfus gets hit by a pitch. The huge crowd they had at Progressive Field goes absolutely banana boats, and Cleveland is in and are in a position where if they just win tomorrow, they're the Central champs. And this incredibly surreal year for Cleveland, a year where they were, as I said, down by 15 and a half games, had a 10-game losing streak, 10-game losing streak at one point. And they climbed to within a half game of one of the third wildcard spots and then absolutely tumbled down the hill. And then from that moment in the middle of September, they couldn't lose. They couldn't lose, but they weren't blowing people out. They were just winning games 5-4, 2-1. Today was 3-2. And there's something about this team that they have nothing to lose. And they can pitch well. And they don't have a great offense. They're one of the worst offensive teams in baseball. Which, again, when we're looking at payroll, if you could raise the payroll to mediocrity, maybe get a couple more bats in there. But bless Stephen Vogt, that means Cleveland is in and has a legit shot tomorrow. Just win tomorrow. Legit shot is one game. Just win tomorrow. But with that, the Houston Astros are out. With that, the Houston Astros, who, again, those 15 days ago, the Houston Astros were in first place by themselves. And they wound up building up a good solid lead against against the West. And with that, it came to the moment when they went on to face Seattle, that crucial series. And look, I was giving the Astros a lot of credit. They had some ups, they had some downs, but they stayed in the playoff chase. They were either the West leader or the wild card leader consistently. And when Seattle was making a run for it, all of a sudden, Alvarez was coming back. Correa was coming back. The team was starting to look like the Astros again. And they went into that series at home against the Seattle Mariners, knowing that they could make a statement. And the statement was completely made by Seattle, who swept them out of the building. And with that, the Astros just wobbled and couldn't recover. And yes, they won today with Christian Walker hitting a couple home runs, but it was meaningless. It was meaningless because Mike Trout basically stuck the nail in the coffin. Now, you could see what I'm pointing out to you right now is that one of the great villains of MLB is out of it right now, is gone. And it's you sometimes you may want to miss your villains, but this could really be the end of the great Astros run that starting in 2017, that year we must not mention, although they did get to the division series in 2015 as well. So we'll pull it back a little bit there. The first batch, which has giant asterisks on it, and a lot of people questioning the validity of that, fine. After COVID, let's bring in Dusty Baker, back-to-back pennants, nearly 3 straight pennants, and a World Series title. Nothing that you can question. But now you have to start questioning. The stars are getting long in the tooth, and the replacement players who have been coming in to be the great new stars to fill their spots haven't been doing the job. They're still a good team, to be sure. But is this the end of the Astros era? How are they going to approach this offseason? And are they going to eventually dismantle the team, or are they going to try one more run at it? Either way, the question of 2025 has been answered. Anyone wants to boo the Astros? You only have one more day left to do it. You better head to Anaheim because the Astros, they are out. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you got to give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people, and it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. Now, Nutrafol is simple to add to your day, 4 pills with a meal, no prescription needed, and it's easy. And whether you're at work or out with your friends or even just getting ready for the morning, Nutrafol gives you more confidence in your daily routine. And you can feel good about it knowing Nutrafol is an NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Locked On MLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB. By the way, tomorrow is the end of Who Owns Baseball and the Summer Score. So that's it's going to be the end of me having to do that every day. I'm going to do Who Owns October, and we're going to keep track of that as well. But yeah, me going through each game and pulling out Who Owned Baseball. Yeah, that part of my morning or that part of my late night is going to be done. And right now, the Who Owns Baseball leader in the American League for batters is Aaron Judge. He has 10.5. Byron Buxton and Cal Raleigh are both tied with 8. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's where the AL MVP vote's going to be. I believe the AL MVP is going to go to Cal Raleigh. I think people are going to be drawn to his 60-some-odd homers. And I think there's a little bit of, hey, Judge has already won it twice. It's not a sin to have him, sit out 1 year for the MVP. I was texting with Stacey Gotsulias of Locked On Yankees. Yeah, I just dropped her name. And she, of course, huge Yankee fan, is pushing big for Aaron Judge and pointed out that, hey, Judge was hurt at one point this year and was playing hurt for, playing hurt. And if that didn't happen, he would be, he missed about a week or so of games. He would probably have 4 or 5 more homers by the way he's going. As it stands, he has 53. Now, Cal Raleigh has 60 home runs. He may, he's probably going to DH tomorrow. He leads the league in home runs and runs batted in. He has a 954 OPS and is a Gold Glove catcher on a team where he is handling that pitching staff. He's played 157 games. Obviously, not all of them a catcher, but still, he's DH'd a bunch. But still, 60 home runs for a catcher, for a Gold Glove catcher. Yes, I totally, did I mention totally understand why you would go for that, especially the leadership that he gave for the team that overtook the Houston Astros. Now, the Yankees were a team that, they had that horrible stretch in the middle of the year, and down this great stretch where they've been, seemingly able to win at will. It seems like Aaron Judge homers in just about every game. He homered again today. If you like WAR, he leads the league in WAR. He has a chance to be one of I think it was 3 people to hit 50 home runs and win a batting title in the same year. Now, if you don't like batting titles, you prefer on base percentage, he leads the league in on base percentage. If you prefer slugging percentage, he leads the league in slugging percentage. And of course, that means he leads the league in OPS and OPS plus and ROBA. He leads the league in walks. He leads the league in total bases. He leads the league in something called RBAT plus. I don't know what that means. He leads the league in intentional walks. He leads the league in WAR. I think that's Irish WAR. All sorts of things that he has beaten Cal Raleigh in terms of stats. And he's a part of, he is the centerpiece for the team that is probably going to have a very, very good chance to finish the year with the best record in the American League. And he's scored more runs, got on base more, all these things that he's done. And again, if you like WAR, he leads the league in WAR. Now, I'm not saying it's cut and dry for Aaron Judge, but I'm saying I don't understand why some people are saying it's cut and dry for Cal Raleigh simply because he leads the league in home runs and runs batted in and plays catcher. I think it makes it an intriguing race because Judge leads him in virtually everything else. I know he's primarily a DH now, but although they have the main DH is Stanton, so he has to play the field as well. And we all saw he's not necessarily a great outfielder now, playing hurt, but he's also playing hurt and wiping up almost every single category. If you look at his baseball, if you go to baseballreference.com and see the greatest website in the history of the planet Earth, there's a lot of bold numbers on his line for 2025. Now, do I think Cal Raleigh's going to win it? Yes, I do. For the reasons I said before. Am I going to get pitchforks and shovels and protest it? Absolutely not. Coen Brothers rule. If you've won it multiple times, you can't complain that you're not keep winning it. And I get it. And I'm not going to really care that much, except the fact that I don't understand that people say that it's over. I think it should be a really intriguing, airtight race between the two. I think it's a coin toss at this point. And by the way, one of my favorite teams is the Mariners, and I'm a native New Englander, so it's not doing it because of my great love for the Yankees. That being said, I'm sorry, it's an intriguing finale, and we're going to see where it comes down to. It's going to happen as one of my favorite new traditions of baseball that all the games are going to start. It's going to start at 3 o'clock East Coast time. It's going to be noon here. All the games at the same time. We're going to see, will the Reds eliminate the Mets? Will the Mets hold on? Will the Blue Jays win the division? Will the Yankees win the division? And that's really, are you going to have home field advantage throughout the American League playoffs? Or are you going to be facing a best-of-3 series and elimination? That's what's that's what's at stake in terms of the Blue Jays and the Yankees. What's at stake between the Guardians and the Tigers? Who's going to have a home field advantage in the wild card series because they're both in there. But the Reds and the Mets are the most intriguing one because that's going to be win or go home. And the Mets can win and still go home. And look at that payroll. And I'm not one to usually point at payroll, but it's tough to avoid because these were the big bad Mets and it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. We're going to lock out the game because it's not fair that teams like the Mets can do this. Look out, Chachi. They may be playing golf. And if the Reds go in and play the Dodgers and the Dodgers bullpen collapse, then the top 2 payrolls will be out. And if the Yankees don't make it as the division winner, and they wound up losing to Tarek Skubal, and the Tigers split the next 2 games, then the top 3 payrolls will go out. And do you know what? Those are, the chance of all that happening are not likely, but it's a lot more than 0. So thank you for making Locked On MLB your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night, every game every night until a World Series champion is crowned. Watch it be the Reds. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Day right here on the Locked On MLB feed on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. That's going to bring us to the trivia question, which is this. Cleveland's in the postseason. Who is the only hitter in Cleveland baseball history to win a postseason MVP? The only hitter to do that, knowing the postseason MVPs began in the mid-1950s. So only Cleveland hitter to win a postseason MVP. That's the question. Post it down here on YouTube. Talking about the Mets, trying to avoid a classic all-time embarrassment, even for them. The Cleveland Guardians got a hit by pitch into the playoffs, much to the chagrin of the Astros, and Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge. It's a valid debate which side you're going with. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.